All right, and
Hello.
you?
Good. How's it, Dan? He's like next to me.
Oh, how's it, brother? How are you doing, Dave?
I'm all right, and you? Drew, just for the record, just so we can get this out of the way, I never watched the rugby. The answer is always no. I did not watch the rugby.
What's the rugby? The Bokke we're playing. Let's see. What a great game. One of the best games of the year.
Jeez.
Man.
And in Cape Town, Dave misses it.
Your home ground. Could have got your tickets.
I mean, if you were gonna buy me a ticket, then maybe I would have sold it to someone else.
Probably, jeez. It was a great weekend of rugby. Yeah.
Amazing. Jeez, such an amazing game.
Yeah, so cool, guys. If you've just joined us, well, you know, this is a coffee chat with Dave, Dan, myself, where it's all about property, it's all about support. So if you know of anyone in the property game starting out or in the property and they might be stuck or you have some questions, this is the forum for you to ask any questions. Dave and myself and Dan will give you an update with regards to what events are coming up, where do you fit in. And then we've got a really awesome guest speaker today. It's Marisia Robus from Gauteng Property Inspections. And I've known Marisia for a number of years. She's done loads of inspections for lots of SAPA members. And today it's all around renovating properties. How do you choose the right contractor? So if you have any questions with regards to renovations, maintenance, you've just bought your first buy-to-let, how often should you be doing maintenance on that specific property? How do you know if a crack is a structural crack or not? What is damp? It is an area, Dave, I found that a lot of beginners go wrong when it comes to just general maintenance, general renovations. What do you spend on kitchens? When is it actual damp? Is it a crack? Is that crack really relevant? Do we need to worry about it? I mean, Dave, have you had any experience with general maintenance and that kind of stuff recently?
No recent tragic stories, but I always hear the horror stories of someone who didn't really do their maintenance and then something went wrong and then they didn't budget for it. And I mean, that's where there's a lot of people selling because they're just not maintaining their properties and they get a huge bill to fix something. And then that's always the way it goes. But yeah, nothing comes to mind of a recent tale. But I think people have been too aggressively buying for that.
Maybe I can jump in. Yeah. Maybe I can jump in here. I think with maintenance, it's not just as, say, a landlord, what sort of like maintenance you're doing or what sort of maintenance budget you didn't put in. A deal I did, I think we did, and in the Northwest, right, for people that are investing in body corporates and that sort of thing. There are a lot of things that the body corporate has to put in place in terms of a maintenance budget and plan, and where someone like Marisia adds value is being able to tell if your body corporate has been doing that and what sort of things is your responsibility, what sort of things aren't. So yeah, that is something to think about, huh?
Definitely, and I think it'll be a really interesting day to hear from our audience, Brad, and everyone else on this call right now. Have you had any horror stories recently with builders, contractors? Are you struggling with maintenance? Is there anything that you're unsure of? Let us know that story. Are you from Joburg, Cape Town, Bloem, Durban? Where are you and what are you busy working on? Because I think what we'll do now is we'll ask Dave to take us through the events for the week, what's happening this week within our ecosystem and next week. And then what we'll do is we'll bring Marisia on board. Are you good with that, Dave?
Yep, sounds good. Happy to do that. So this week's nice and easy. We've got our Mastermind, so that's for our intermediate and professional members as well as the SAP and youth guys. That's tomorrow. Starts at 6 o'clock, all online. So hopefully load shedding is behaving, but I do see we are still scheduled for load shedding after 4, so hopefully it's not too bad for everyone. And then Thursday, we've got Mohamed Gardee talking about the rising costs that are affecting South Africans. So that's very prevalent at the moment with the costs going up. I was in an Uber this weekend and saw the price of petrol was 26 Rand 30. Sucks to you guys. So it's going to be a very good topic. So that's Thursday night. And then looking a little further ahead next week, we've got our coaching and legal support webinar on Tuesday. That's the 26th. That's also online at 6 o'clock. And then there is the Tile Africa networking event on the 28th. But Drew, you're at Tile Africa now. So what is the plan for that event? That's
be a really awesome event, Dave. It's the first time ever in the history of SAP and from memory that we've ever run a networking event at an actual store. It's always either at a restaurant or it's at a hotel. So I'm here at the Tile Africa store in Greenstone. So for our professional members and intermediate members, you will be invited to a premier event here at the Tile Africa flagship branch where it's going to be networking, a lot of networking, but we also have people like Marisia Robus from Gauteng Property Inspections addressing us again with regards to maintenance renovations. We're going to have speakers like Tile Africa, obviously. There'll be a few demos on the night. How do you choose the right tile? So there are quite a few individuals from the Tile Africa side, as well as people like Mark Berman from Soundrock talking about project managing. So the whole topic and theme will be around, again, renovations, maintenance, project management. And we've got the whole of the store. So there'll be loads of networking opportunities, food, drinks, but you need to register and you need to be an intermediate or pro member if you do want to join us.
100%. That's it for the next 2 weeks. So still fairly busy. That's 4 events in 2 weeks. So still a lot going on. If you have any questions about where to find the events, I'm going to quickly share the link for you guys. You can find all the information over here. You can also email support@sapropertynetwork.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
Alright. There you go.
I think my internet might be a bit slower, but we'll get through it.
It always is at Tile Africa.
Yeah, good old internet. But yeah, I think, Dave, let's introduce Marisia Robus from Gauteng Property Inspections.
There you go. It's Marisia.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Marisia, how are you?
Hi, Andrew. Hello, Dave. Hello, Daniel. Nice to see all of you again.
Always nice seeing you, Marissa. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. Enjoying the bit warmer weather. And Dave, I'm with you. I also didn't watch the rugby, so don't feel bad.
I don't know that.
What's wrong with you guys? It's a good game. But I think, Marisia, to kick this off, for people that don't know you, give us an awesome introduction. Who are you? Level of experience? How many years have you been doing this? And what are we going to be talking about?
Okay, so my name is Marisia Robus. I'm the owner of Gauteng Property Inspections. I had a construction company with my dad and worked with him in the construction company for 12 years. And I've been doing property inspections now for 10 years. I'm an ITC, which is the Institute for Timber Construction, certified roof inspector, the only female in the country. And I am a NABISA, which is the National Institute of Building Inspectors of South Africa, master certified inspector, and I was recently elected as an executive director on the NABISA board. I once a year lecture at UJ to the final year building construction management students about maintenance. And earlier this year, they asked me to add another lecture, and I lectured to the final year students about national building regulations and NHBRC regulations, why they're important, which ones they must never forget about, and just to give them some guidance on that. I'm a proud member of the SAPN Power team, and I love assisting I call them my property investors, to get the best possible properties, and they use my reports to negotiate a better price. And once I've given you a report, there's no argument that the agent says, oh, but that's not serious, or the seller says, no, that's just a plaster crack or whatever. I give you proof of what exactly is wrong in the property.
Absolutely, Marisia. That's a good example of that is that property I was being Kempton Park, remember? And that deal was still in negotiation, but basically what happened was you could tell that the property was built by a developer who cut corners. The staircase was illegal. Now, the agents didn't know this. The agents didn't pick it up. The sellers didn't pick it up, but I've got you there, Marisia. And that report you created actually went directly to the bank, and it went to the owner of the property. So hang on a minute, guys. Do you realize that, yes, the price we're asking is way too much, and this is why this is why the potential purchaser has offered such a low price, not because they're trying to be cheeky, but because there's a lot of work we have to rectify. And Marisia, that's the power of your business. And the agents were very impressed with your work and your report. And so was the bank. Like, oh, wow. Okay, now we can see why the offer was so low. And so that's what we're going to discuss today. Now, for all of you listening right now, if you have any questions for Marisia, if you want to get in contact with Marisia, there is a link in the comments over there. Marisia from Master, Daniel's got some questions.
Yeah.
Dave will have some questions. Ridwan, if you have any questions from P-Ware, please pop it into the comments box. And just remember to tag your friends in if they want to be part of this conversation with us. So Marisia, let's start with some basic questions. If I am to appoint a contractor, I think it's two conversations. How do I know I'm appointing the right contractor? What checks can I do to make sure that it is a good contractor? And is the NHBRC of any relevance? What's the importance of that?
Okay, so when you do renovations or alterations, the NHBRC has absolutely no relevance. They cannot assist you. Because when you build a new property, the contractor must enroll that building contract with the NHBRC, and you get the 5-year structural guarantee, the 1-year roof leak guarantee, and if there are any major hassles and the builder ignores you, you can report him to the NHBRC, and with a bit of pushing and prodding, they'll assist you. But when you do renovations, they have absolutely no say in the matter. So it's very important that you don't just take a builder because somebody recommended him on Facebook or your friend says, no, he did a good job, or you maybe like the guy and think, oh, well, maybe he'll do a good job. The very important thing is go and look at the last 5 projects he has done. Ask him that you want to go and look at the projects, physically look at them. And preferably ask for at least 2 projects that were completed more than a year ago. Because you want to go and see, what does the plaster look like after a year? What does the paint look after a year? How much? Because you can see what the paint looks like after a year, and you can realize how much water they added to the paint and whether they did a good or a bad job. You will see what the plaster looks like. How many plaster cracks are there? Is the plaster falling off the walls? What does the tile work look like after a year? If they added on rooms, how bad is the damp after a year? So don't take somebody's word for it. Put in the legwork and go and look at least 5 properties and ask the difficult questions. Ask the previous clients, did the builder complete on time? If it wasn't on time, why not? Whose fault was it? Was it you who didn't choose your kitchen or your tiles on time? Or was it the builder that was too busy with other things as well? Then secondly, how big was the extras account? Because that's a huge problem. A lot of builders will quote cheap so they can get the job, and then they nail you with the extras. I always offer my clients, send me the quotes you've got from the different builders. I'll have a look at it. And so many times I pick up. The guys don't, but this guy says he can do a kitchen for 20,000. Yes, but he didn't allow any worktops in it. And the other guy allowed for granite tops. This guy didn't allow to have the built-in cupboards fitted. He just allowed to have the carcasses delivered. There's no doors included. There's no handles, all of those things. So very important that you check the quotes and ask the people, what was the extras bill like? Was it huge, or were there only extras that I, as the client, wanted? And then the most important thing is, how did he handle the snag list? Are you still waiting a year later for the snags to be done? Or did he come back, sort the snags out, and are you happy with your house? So you've got to ask the tough questions before you appoint your contractor.
And I think it's the right questions, because often what happens, and you see it all the time, where somebody is looking for a builder, and the builder may be referred, and it's happened before where the builder did a great job on one previous job, and then completely messed it up on the other job. So it's important that you ask the right questions, right, Marisia, and actually do that homework. And don't go look at one project, go look at a few projects. Another alarm bell for me, Marisia, is when a builder is looking for work, you've got to be very careful, because the good builders are never, ever out of work. In fact, they can only start your project in 3 months or 4 months. But if there's a builder actively looking for work, I always go, but why aren't you in work? There's so much work, especially now with COVID, and coming out of COVID. There's loads of renovations and maintenance jobs. You should never be out of work. So it's always been an alarm bell for me. Dan, from your side, are there any questions?
Yeah. So, Marisia, thanks for the insight. Firstly, I know you did kind of touch on it, and you almost said prevention is better than cure in a way. But let's say someone that joins SAPIN, or they are people on the call right now that have appointed a bad seller, a bad contractor. So, in addition to what you've kind of touched on, what are other ways investors can safeguard their investments? Because appointing a contractor can have a huge impact on your ROI and everything happening. Is there anything else you think, safety measures we can take that you can maybe share with everyone listening?
Okay, so a thing that I get so often when I get called in, when there's a big bun fight between the client and the contractor, and the contractor's not finishing the job and he's been paid 3/4 of the money and all of that, I say, please give me the contract and the specification schedule. And the people look at me, the what? Do you know how many people pay a builder money? 90% of the time, they don't even have a proper quote. The guy maybe scribbled something, or it's on WhatsApp or something. Sign a contract with a guy, first of all, very important. Secondly, if you contact me, Dave has put the link on the chat. If you contact me through SAPIN Connect, you can obtain a copy of a contract from me as well as a specification schedule. And that specification schedule is long. If I remember correctly, it's about 12 pages. And people say, why must I take the trouble of completing this? This is where you're going to save yourself. You detail there, what are the bricks? Who's buying the bricks? The contractor or the client? Cement, tiles, what's going on the floor? What's going on the wall? There you specify, I want a good quality paint that is guaranteed for 12 years. Don't come with your Builders Warehouse no-name brand paint and then you thin it down by 50% with water. You know, all of those things. And if you detail it there, and then you have to stand behind the builder and make sure you know what he's doing. So we also know SAPIN sells it at events. My dad wrote a book called The Proud Homeowner. And in there, we detail a lot of things that you have to look out for. Because the biggest problem that I find when I do snag list inspections or when I do quality control inspections during construction is when I call a builder out on something. He says, but I've been doing it for 10 years. You say, well, you've been doing it wrong for 10 years. This is the correct way of doing things. Now, there's no ways that you as the property owner or the landlord or the property investor knows all the building regulations. But I know them, and you expect your builder to know them. But unless he's enrolled with the NHBRC and he's had to write some sort of exam, there's no guarantee that he actually knows his building regulations. And the problem is, the biggest problem, and this is what I keep on telling my clients, is that if your house is not built according to national building regulations, insurance can legally reject your claim if you have a problem. And whatever problem is because of your house or your property not complying to national building regulations. And that's a big problem. For instance, if they didn't put a fire door between the house and the garage and a fire breaks out, insurance can turn around and says, we're not paying because your house is not according to regulations. And that is a big, big, big problem.
I agree 100%. And most people don't know that, do they?
No,
until the effect. So, Marisia, let me give you a scenario. Let's say there's a property here in the East Rand. It's a 3-bedroom property, and we're going to renovate it. We're going to do a full gut. We're going to spend 500,000 Rand. So we're going to send builders in there and contractors, and we've got to strip the kitchen out, the bathroom out, the tiles out. We're going to do a full rewire, and we've got a quote for 500. Would you recommend that a SAPIN member or an individual goes and has a contract with a builder? That builder has their own electrician, plumber, or contractors? Or would you recommend the individual goes to individual trades themselves? That's one conversation. Do we go to one contractor that has everything? Or do you go to all the individuals? Second question is, if it was a builder that we contracted, how much money should we give now? So the project, the guy wants to start tomorrow. Do I give 50%, 20%? And how would you outlay that 500,000 Rand over a period of time?
Okay, so I would, unless you have a good property, a project manager on site who can handle all of these different contractors, I would recommend that you get a builder, one guy, and he has his subcontractors. The other reason that's a good idea as well is if you get your plumber, your electrician, your tiler in, when something is damaged, the tiler's going to blame the plumber's going to blame the electrician's going to blame the painter, and you're not going to get anywhere. So if you have one building contractor, it is his responsibility, and he has to keep an eye on everything. Now, the next problem is paying deposits. That is very, very dangerous. So if you are handling the money, I would recommend that you pay for all the material. You buy them, you say to the builder, where do you buy your bricks? Give me the invoice, I'll pay for the bricks, let them deliver it. Where do you buy your paint? That type of thing. That way you control it. The builder is still allowed to put a markup on it, a handling fee, whatever. That's not a problem. You pay him his handling fee for, on his weekly draws. And then the most important thing is don't pay for work that is going to be done next week. Pay for work that was done now, up to this week. And the easy way is to say to the building contractor, okay, how long is this contract going to take? It's going to take 8 weeks, 3 months, whatever the case may be. You take the material out and now you're only left with the labor, and you ask him to give you a program. At the end of this week, I've done this, and you work out how much he will do every week. And if the plumber or the electrician or everybody wants money, you ask them to submit draws on a weekly basis or every second week. Their contract is 50,000 Rand. They've done half of the work, so you can give them 25,000 Rand. But you should learn a lesson from the banks. If the banks do progress payments on a new build, they don't pay out, they take, let's say the contract, as you said, is 500,000 Rand. They don't pay out 10% of the money. They keep 90% of the money. So you must always make sure that you have enough money left, that if that builder walks off site or the electrician walks off site, you have enough money left that you can finish the contract with somebody else. That's very important. Even if you say to the people, I'm keeping a 5% retention until I've got my electrical COC, my gas, my plumbing COC and everything. And you've got to make sure that you get all of those COCs and guarantees and everything before you pay the final money.
Definitely. I think also, Marisia, on that point, when you engage a contractor builder and they say they've got a full team, would you insist on ensuring that the electrician is compliant and that it's up to date? I mean, would you say to the builder, can you show me that your electrician is competent, has all the right certification?
Most definitely. Definitely, you need to see that they are registered with the Electrical Contractors Board, with IOPSA, which is the plumbing guys. Your glazing needs to be, you need a glazing certificate issued and everything. I had a case last week. I did a snagless inspection, the most beautiful property in Helderkruin on the mountain, right next to a nature reserve. Absolutely fantastic. And when I climbed into the roof to check the geyser installation, I was flabbergasted. First of all, they'd installed a 300-litre geyser. I mean, I didn't even think they make 300-litre geysers anymore. That thing is huge and heavy. Secondly, the slope of the roof was very low. So they struggled to get the geyser in there. They eventually got it in. It had 5 huge dents on it. Then secondly, the king post, the main post of the roof truss, they broke it out of the nail plates and then just stuck it back and pushed the nail plates together. And this 300-litre geyser was sitting on this roof truss. And the top cord bracing, they just cut it off. At least they left it in the roof. But so I say, where's this plumber now? Oh, yeah, well, they actually fired the plumber after they saw my snag list report. I'm like, nice one. And then it came out that the plumber was not registered. So now my clients are sitting with a house where all the plumbing was done by an unregistered plumber.
Yeah.
So now it's a big bun fight. Who's going to issue the plumbing certificate? No other plumber is prepared to issue a plumbing certificate on work that was done by an idiot.
Absolutely. And I think that's a problem here. And going back to what I said, when you do engage the builder also know, I've got the team, I've got the full team, but doesn't mean they're registered. There could be cowboys. So it's important, whether you engage a contractor directly, like an electrician or a plumber, or if you go through a third party, like a building contractor, just ask the question, you get the proof. It's happened to me in the past before, hence I brought that up. There's something else I'm going to ask. Yeah.
And Andrew, also, if you have a swimming pool built, or you have a spa bath fitted, or you have waterproofing done on a flat roof, all of these different things, you've got the Pool and Spa Association, you've got the Waterproofing Association, all of these different trades, the ones that are important, have an association. Go and check, is this guy registered on the association? Contact them and say, hey, how's this guy's work? How many complaints have you had about him? As a homeowner and as the person who's paying the subcontractors and the builder, you are quite entitled to do that.
100%. So I think to sum up that conversation, Marisia, when it comes to a renovation to be done, and in this scenario, it's a 500,000 Rand, 500,000 Rand worth of work to be done on the property. You're still working full time. You don't have much time. You're going to have to hire a project manager who could possibly be on site every single day. Whereas if you're full time in property, you're in the quadrant C, you're able to be on site, you've got experience, you could then look after that, all those works yourself. So it depends on your circumstance, right? How much time do you have and what experience do you have? I mean, if it's a small one-bedroom flat and all we're doing is liquid paint and some TLC, I'm not going to go get this high-power builder contractor. I'll probably just go get a decorator so I can do some painting. I'll buy the stuff myself. So it really does depend, right? The size of the project and your level of experience. Would you agree, Marisia?
For sure. Now, the other thing, if you're doing a big or a small renovation, if it's a big one, it really pays in the end to ask me to stop off on site once a week, just to throw my beady eye and see what's happening, who's making nonsense, what are they mixing in the cement, how are they mixing the plaster, and to just give you some guidelines and have a chat to the builder and say, listen, my mate, when you do the plastering, this is how you must mix it. Make sure you do that. And just, make sure everybody steps in line. But if you're just doing a lick of paint, as you say, or you're fitting new taps or something like that, remember that the quality of the product you buy is going to affect you for a long time. If you look, I'm a big favorite of Plascon and Dulux paint. They are guaranteed for 12 years, and if their washable paints are really good. So look, make the sums. The Plascon or Dulux is I think they're about 350 Rand more than the normal no-name brand paint. But if between tenants, you can only wash the walls instead of painting every time a tenant moves out, to me, that is a no-brainer. Then when you buy taps and things, be careful. There are lots of specials all over the place, and I call them the Jap scrap taps and funny things that people import. Now there's a washer that's leaking. And these taps are such strange sizes, you can't get a washer to fit there. So what has to happen? You've got to replace the whole tap again. That's why at places like the Tile Africas and your big companies, they don't buy these funny Jap scrap products that's not going to be around next year and that you're not going to find a washer for. So again, Buy a reputable brand that's been around for a long time and that you know you'll get spare parts for. That makes a huge difference.
Agreed 100%, Marisia. Buy quality up front, because cheaper isn't always cheaper is normally more expensive. And that's the same with everything. You think you're getting a good price, but it's going to bite you in the butt a few months later or a few years later. Let's make the assumption now, Marisia, we've just renovated the property, right? We put new gutters, we saw the roof, new kitchen, new electric fences, done some landscaping. We moved tenants into the property. The house theoretically shouldn't need maintenance, short-term maintenance, because we just spent 500,000 Rand. Tell us, how often should we clean gutters? What should we look for in that property? Should we be going there every 6 months, every 1 year? What's your advice?
Andrew, it's very difficult to say, because you have to make an assessment of the quality of the building when you start. Because some things might be very close to needing major maintenance or a point of no return, as I term it, or sometimes regular maintenance has been done. But I would recommend that you go to your property at least every 6 months. Before the rainy season starts, very important, because you need to clean gutters, you need to make sure that the valleys are free of leaves and things like that. And then after the heavy rain your rainy season has passed, you need to go and make sure that there are no major things that went wrong. But also you need to make sure that your tenant lets you know what's happening. If there was a major storm in the area, contact the tenant and say, listen, what is happening? Did you have any damage? Where did the stormwater flow around the property? Keep your hand on the building all the time. The other thing, depending on the type of rental it is or the type of property you have, I always recommend in multi-lets and in student accommodation where there's high traffic that you replace the silicone at the zinc and the basins and the baths and the showers every 6 months. A tube of silicone is cheap, but it can save you a lot of money in the long run. And when you do that, check if they're leaking pipes under the zincs, flush the toilets, make sure that nothing leaks. Because a lot of times tenants think, the landlord's not going to come and repair the toilet. And they put an ice cream bowl under the leaking toilet. So rather keep your finger on your property. Even in the beginning, a lot of my property investors use it as an excuse the first 2 or 3 months. And after a month, they go and they say, listen, can we just have a look around? Do you need any maintenance done? And then you can also see what type of tenant you have. Are they looking after the property, or are they damaging the property? You can then make a quicker decision whether you need to get rid of the tenants or not. So in the beginning, maybe every 2 months, pop in, see if there's anything that needs to be done, and rather do proper maintenance than let the tenant stick rubbers in the doors because they're rattling and things like that, which in the end is just going to damage your property.
Absolutely, and just make sure that you keep doing it. And how often we say, Marisia? Twice a year? Initially,
Twice a year, you should clean the gutters and check everything around your property. But I would definitely, in the first 3 months of a new tenant, try and visit the property at least twice, just to make sure they're not making nonsense.
Yeah, because often what happens, Marisia, when you're doing a renovation on a property and you've got a new geyser and you've got new bathrooms and new taps, often what people don't do is they don't test it. So what tends to happen are the tenants move into the property, then they put the tap on and realize the tap doesn't work, or they realize there's no hot water, or they realize the plumbing is actually wrong. So when you do a renovation, just make sure you test everything. You turn on the geyser, you turn on the tap, you turn on the shower. Is there pressure? Just because it's been renovated doesn't mean it was done correctly.
Exactly, and you flush the toilet and make sure the hot water is not connected to the toilet.
Absolutely. And in fact, on the 28th of July, Marisia, when you come to tell, there's a toilet chair that sold for how much? 130,000 Rand. a toilet where it does everything for you. All you do is you sit and it does everything for you. As you walk into the toilet lid opens.
Oi, heaven.
So I've asked her to give us a demonstration on the 28th of July. So if you want to see how this toilet works, everyone, Marisia, you'll be joining us, won't you?
Yes, I will.
Hey, you feel like flying inside the toilet, don't you?
No, I'm good. It's the price of a refurb for a single toilet. I'm good, thanks. I've been to Japan. I've seen them.
Dave, the other thing people must also remember is that a builder or any contractor, any work you have done, they are legally obliged to give you a 3-month, or it's actually 90 days snag list period. So they have to come back and do snags for 3 months. The way the people normally work is within the first 7 or 10 days after your tenant or whoever's taken occupation, you give the big things, then the door handle fell off, the toilet flush is hot or whatever. And then after 3 months, you give them a snag list. You say, listen, this door doesn't close, this, that, whatever the case may be. So remember that and make sure that it is detailed in the contract that you will get a 90-day snag list period.
Absolutely. And those are things that people just don't know, Marisia. And that is why I'm so excited for the 28th of July, which is that next week already?
I think it's the week after. It's in 10 days' time.
10 days' time. Yeah, at Tile Africa here in the Greenstone branch. Like I was saying before, for our intermediates and professional members, we've got an awesome cocktail evening where Marisia Robus will be here at Tile Africa, Mark Berman, all around renovations, maintenance. We'll get some demos. I want to check out this fancy toilet, which will be super exciting. Now, Marisia, looking at the time, what we're going to do is Dave is going to take us through the events for the week and next week again. Ladies and gents watching this, if you have any questions, Sabella, we'll come back to your question there when we come back into from the events. Marisia, I will then ask you to leave something for our audience, anything that you want to say or leave with them until the 28th of July. But I think, Dave, let's just go into the events and then we'll come back to Marisia. So if you have any questions for Marisia, now is the time to ask.
Yeah. 100%. So let me run through them again. As all of you will know, Andrew and I do a monthly mastermind. So Andrew, Dan, and I do a monthly mastermind. So that's happening tomorrow night. So that's for SAPN youth, intermediate, and professional members. It's a really good opportunity to sit down, talk about what your goals are. We pair you up with an accountability partner. So that's there. You can always email support to get access to that one. Otherwise, if you're a member, you have been emailed. On the 21st of July, there is an event with Mohamed Gardee talking about how the rising costs are affecting South Africans. We've definitely seen a lot of economic pressure impacting people, and Mohamed's going to be talking about how that's changing behaviors of sellers. A little further afield, next Tuesday, 26th, Andrew and I'll be running our monthly coaching and legal support webinar. So for those of you who are members or you're in some of our courses, you have access to that. Andrew and I will take some time to answer any questions that you have. We'll have someone from Intergen and bring some of our attorneys on. So if there's some more technical legal questions, they can answer that. And then a little further afield is the one at Tile Africa, 28th of July at 6 o'clock. That's not right. That's show at 6:30. I'll go up to that now. So that's happening at Tile Africa. You need to be an intermediate or professional member. Make sure you've emailed support at sapropertynetwork.com. That's it for the next 2 weeks.
So there's quite a lot happening, which is awesome. And for the mastermind on Tuesday night, what we're doing differently this time is, depending on your level of experience you have in property, you will be put into a specific category. So the beginners will go together, the intermediates and the advanced will go together on the mastermind. It's an awesome session where we're holding investors accountable for achieving their goals. So if you are a professional member, you will be invited to that tomorrow night. But coming back to you, Marisia, obviously there's the 20th of July where you'll have a lot more time to go into detail and look more stories, and you'll be walking around the store looking at different tiles, because it happens so often, Marisia, where if we talk about tiles for a second, how many people go for the cheap tiles and they just end up popping and breaking, and then they bought the cheaper tile, but now 12 months later they're going to replace all the tiling. What's your view on that?
Now they've got a problem because the cheap tiles are not necessarily always still available. And they might have been the end of a range, and now you've got to redo the thing completely. The other thing, the other tip I would like to give people is when you do a renovation, always keep at least 2 boxes of tiles, because things happen. Your tenants might drop a heavy lounge suite or something on the floor, crack a tile. You know, you never know what the guys might do. And now you've got to replace tiles and you can't find the same tile. And now you've got to retile the whole thing. And there's a lot of things, a lot of tips that I will give them on the 28th regarding tiling. You know, we must make sure that the tiler does A, B, C, and that he doesn't do this and things like that. But that's quite a long story. But the other thing I would like people to always please remember, when you fit doors, before they fit the doors, make sure they paint the doors at the top and the bottom. So why is that important? Most of us are not tall enough, except Daniel's maybe tall enough that you can see.
We're about the same. We're all under 2 meters.
So I'm not tall enough to see there, but the problem is, if the doors are not painted at the bottom, while you're washing the floor, especially these spaghetti mops that I hate so much, it's got a lot of water on the mops, and you're washing against the door, and the water goes in under the door. The wood is not treated, and it sucks up this water. And very soon you'll see damage at the bottom of the door. When you visit the next property, have a look at the bottom of the doors. If they're damaged, you know it's because they're not painted at the bottom. If they were painted, the water wouldn't go up and you won't have that damage on the doors. Very important that you paint the doors on the top and the bottom before they hang them.
Absolutely, yeah. And then Marisia, comes to a question about Sabella. You're asking a question: is there a registered licensed sustainable green building guy, or is it a matter of working with green sustainable consultants? Right now, no, SAPA doesn't have anyone. But part of the Investor of the Year category, we are looking at introducing a category just for green. So Sabella, the answer is no for now, but will be yes within a few months. And you know, where do banks stand on green sustainable funding? Building funding. So these are conversations SAPA is having with the likes of Absa Bank and all the other banks and building partner and one of our business partners called Business Partners. They have a category, or they have a fund just for green. So it's fairly new to SAPA, but it is being introduced over the next 6 months. So as we get more information, Sabella, we'll definitely share it with you. In fact, we're looking at having an event sometime this year with business partners around your questions. Okay, so I'll give you more information, Sabella, later on in this year. But Dan...
Andrew, sorry, if I can just add in there, if you're looking at a green option, please make sure that whatever option you're looking at has got an aggregate certificate that was issued by the SABS and that it's been accepted by the NHBRC. That is the only way the banks will finance it. If you haven't got an SABS aggregate certificate and it hasn't been accepted by the NHBRC, the banks won't finance it.
Okay, brilliant. I'm just popping a comment check there as well from Mark Berman. The GBCSA has a list of registered developers and consultants, if that helps you, Sabella. So yeah, I think let's jump to Dan to see if Dan has any questions and see if Dave has any questions, and then we can close it. Eh?
Yeah, just closing off the final few questions I have. Marissa, I know on a deal that I did not too long ago, buying a property in a complex, I know you touched upon investors having a maintenance plan. When you're buying in, say, a body corporate or an estate, the body corporate should have a maintenance plan available, and would you think that it is better for investors to understand that maintenance plan, what the body corporate are meant to do, what they're meant to take care of? In your opinion, huh?
Yes. Dan, very important. I always advise my property investors that they must ask for the 10-year maintenance plan of the body corporate. And then I say to them, send it to me and let me analyze it for you. Because again, I know what to look out for. But when I do an inspection, I always look at the common property and at the areas which are the responsibility of the body corporate. Because if the body corporate is not doing their maintenance, then it's going to affect your investment. Like you had with that property that I inspected for you, the body corporate didn't service the waterproofing on the balcony, and it had leaked into the patio below and caused major damp damage. And the other problem is that rising damp, which according to me is the biggest problem in South African properties, and it's because the builders do not build correctly. And 99% of the complexes just scrape off the damp, paint over it, and there you go. And eventually you get damp damage inside the unit, and damp causes mold to grow, and it's a health risk. So very important that you must understand what the body corporate must do and have a look at it. When are they saying they're going to paint the window frames again? And if the putty has fallen out of the steel window frame and the glass is loose, don't let them get away with saying they're only going to do it in 4 years' time. That is a safety risk. If the glass is loose, somebody can fall against it, it's a problem. And make sure that they do their maintenance as they should. And very important is make sure that they've got enough finances in the kitty to do the necessary maintenance. So very important, don't just look at your unit and at the inside. You've got to look at what the outside looks like. Have they got a 10-year maintenance plan, and have they got enough finances to do the maintenance?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks.
Awesome. Anything else, Dan? Or
No, I'm all good.
And Dave, from your side, any comments or questions, anything around that?
Yeah, for me, I think a lot of ownership comes down, especially when you get into the buy-to-let space, comes down to prevention's better than cure, and preventative maintenance is really important. And working with a really good inspector, they can help you understand what preventative maintenance tasks you should be carrying out. Because if you start to have wood rot, it's too late. Then you've got to go and replace a whole bunch of wood. But if you're going to go in and annually treat your wood and make sure that everything's protected and taken care of, then it's going to save you money in the long term. It's short-term minor cost, and touch-up paints generally cost me less than a couple of $100 a month. It's a lot easier than doing that way than going and having to replace a whole chunk of rotten wood because you didn't seal it before the rainy season.
Talking about the wood rot, Dave, I would like to encourage everybody to go, if you can now or this weekend, go and take a walk around your property. Have a look at the exposed roof timber. So that's the section where your roof trusses are hanging outside the walls. If there are little holes that look like you can fit a pencil in there, phone a pest control company immediately. Because of all the rain, I have seen, and those little holes are carpenter bees. I have seen so many carpenter bees this year. Normally, I would find 1 or 2 houses a year with carpenter bees. I now find 3 to 5 houses a week with carpenter bees. So please go and take a look around your property. If there are little holes, get somebody in to come and spray immediately. They do a huge amount of damage.
Hectic. 100%. And I've seen it at our house in Marisia. I've seen a little hole there.
Okay.
And the best bugs fly around.
Yeah, best you phone. The company in Gauteng to use is called Ridit, R-I-D-I-T. They are excellent. Let them come and spray. The other provinces, I'm not so sure, Dave, but I'm sure you've got people down in Cape Town who are good.
Yeah, 100%.
So immediately get them to spray.
Awesome, Marisia. Sounds good. So I think let's call it a wrap there. Any last words, Marisia? Any last words for our audience today before we see you on the 28th of July at the next event?
Okay, before you do an alteration, go and see what the builder has done, sign a contract, fill in the specification schedule, and don't pay him a 50% deposit. You will come back to me crying.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Marisia. Thank you for your time, your insights, and we look forward to seeing you on the 28th of July.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Dave and Andrew and
Thanks,
Daniel.
Awesome. Thank you. So, yeah, that's it. Marisia Robus, thank you very much. So there's quite a few events happening this week, as you can all tell. We've got the Mastermind tomorrow night. We've got other events happening that Dave mentioned. just go to sapropertynetwork.com, go to our website, click on events. If you want to get more information with regards to how do you join, how do you register, how do you get on, just go to the Sapin website. Dave will post a link for you, or it should be in there already. In fact, there it is. It's in the comments box. And see us at the events, and we'll take it from there. Dave, anything from your side?
No, that's it. I think it's just a matter of staying active. I've seen a lot of trends in the market at the moment of people struggling with the affordability. So attending Mohamed's conversation later this week is going to be very good for us, and just get in a mindset to help solve people's problems, because people are definitely hurting out there at the moment between load shedding and fuel prices, and Eskom wanting 33% raise.
Yeah, we all need more. That's for sure.
Yeah, so be out there and solve the problems. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, cool, David. That was an awesome session with Marisia. Hey? Lots of insights, always. Okay, so I think until next week, everyone. We'll see you next week, Monday, at the next coffee chat. Remember to tag your friends and let them know about it. If you have any questions, please just ask, and we'll help you where we can. See you all later.
Awesome. Bye.
Cheers, guys.